where Prime Minister Narendra Modi has met his Canadian counterpart Justin Trudeau on the sidelines of East Asia Summit in Laos. This is their second meeting since the Trudeau alleged India's involvement in the killing of Canadian-based Khalistani separatists. Trudeau, who made the meeting public, described it as a brief exchange. Meanwhile, India strongly rejected the claims made by Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau that safety of Canadians was discussed when he came face-to-face with Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Laos on the sidelines of the ASEAN summit. The two leaders have exchanged greetings. The MEA stated that there was no substantive discussion between the two leaders, while as per the sources, what we can understand is that the growing India continues to expect that the anti-India Khalistani activities will not be allowed to take place on the Canadian soil. And this is in fact in furthermore coherence with the action taken against those advocating violence, extremism and terrorism against India from Canadian territory. All right. Let's also get in the statement from Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, in fact, on these statements.
I had a brief exchange with Prime Minister Modi in which I emphasized that there is work that we need to do. I won't go into details of what we talked about, but what I've said many times is that the safety of Canadians and upholding the rule of law is one of the fundamental responsibilities of any Canadian government, and that's what I'll stay focused on. Yes, we need to continue to develop our trade ties and our people-to-people ties, but there are real issues that we need to solve for, and we're going to stay focused on that.
Ashley Burke, CBC News. Prime Minister, in English and French, you've gone public with your allegations that there were credible allegations linking India to the killing of a Canadian Sikh activist. Do you still believe that India has stopped allegedly, or do you believe that India has allegedly stopped trying to kill its enemies in Canada?
Keeping Canadians safe is one of the fundamental jobs of any Canadian government. And ensuring public safety was why I shared those credible allegations a year ago, and why since then we have been working diligently to do everything we can to keep Canadians safe now and into the future by ensuring that the rule of law is.
All right, now joining me on the broadcast is my guest, Major General Sudhakar Ji. Very good morning to you, sir, and thank you for speaking to NewsX and me right now in this morning. And at this point of time, it seems like a big statement that has come from India as far as the anti-India activities happening on the Canadian soil is concerned. And of course, right now, after the statements that have come from Justin Trudeau, it seems like India is clear on its stand. When we have spoken to our sources in the MEA, what we have given to understand is that India is leaving no stone unturned as making clear the stand on taking down the activities of extremism and terrorism that are brewing on the Canadian soil is concerned.
Good morning, Simran. Thank you for getting me to your show. As regards the question which you have asked, before I answer the question, let me extend greetings to you, your family, everyone in NewsX on Dussehra, and may God continue to shower all the laurels and blessings
on
you,
each and
every one of you. So having said that, I extend greetings to the Prime Minister of Canada as well, that when is some sanity going to come into his mind? He is a leader of a G7 country, and they are supposed to be leading economies. He is one of the members of the I5. Anyway, never mind. I would compliment the Indian leadership for having extended the true meaning and the gesture, relevant gesture, in keeping with the international protocols and the diplomatic norms. Otherwise, things would actually fall apart. We need to keep some opening available so that whenever situation, nothing is permanent. Even his own feelings and the tirades that he has been indulging, the Canadian Prime Minister, they are also short-lived, so as the tenure as a Prime Minister. Because elections in Canada are also around the corner, and his existence as a Prime Minister is also being threatened by the party which is supporting him. So be that as it may, let's come to the core issue. The core issue is the upholding the rule-based order, or the upholding the rule applicable for peace and normalcy in the world. Let's pick up a thread, small thread from his articulation. Let's ask this country and all the leading seven or the G7 countries, okay, what do you mean by this definition? Does it mean that a person who's already been nominated as a terrorist in one country, who's responsible for having killed so many people, indulged in terrorist activities, there is a red corner notice against him, so as Mr. Pannu, does it mean that as per your law and as per the norm prevalent in Canada, do you, going by your definition and meaning, do you protect him and also shelter him from the rule of law of India? Do the meaning of rule of law in India and there in Canada or USA or leading 7 countries, do they merit any kind of distinction in 21st century? Are we talking about a common rules-based international order, or we are talking about a differing perception so as to have a distinction? Anyway, if they will not agree, Simran, my take on the whole issue is, it's just a matter of time. This is Asia's century. We don't have to pull our hair and burn our late night energy. We simply have to continue focusing on the economy. When you talk about the economy, how much is that the bilateral trade that we are talking of between Canada and India? That much one minor country in Australia or let's say, Africa is good enough. It is 8.5 to 10 billion. Maximum was 2022. Bilateral trade, we are actually importing less from Canada than what we are exporting. We have other alternative means and countries and the market available. Our domestic market itself is so huge. We can forego. There is a value system for every democracy and every country. We cannot compromise our value system. You see, we call about our national interest. Yes, national interest is paramount, but it is driven by our cultural values. We cannot. Like he's talking, he's concerned about the safety and security of his countrymen. Does it mean that he expects India to ignore the safety and security of our countrymen? Does it mean that we encourage people like Nijar and Pannu to come and carry out terrorist activities openly and blatantly in a brazen manner? Does it mean that the rule of law in India, the constitution should allow officially the kind of activities which is going to inflict mayhem against the humanity in India, and same would be acceptable to Canada, and Canada keeps on extending such protection? No. The time has come. We need to have common definition, or as far as possible with minimum distinction or definition of terrorists. Hamas has not been branded as terrorists till date. So has Hezbollah. For one country, they are freedom fighters. For other country, they are terrorists. Why Israel? If Israel can get away scot-free by killing 41,000 Hamas or Palestinians, so why should other countries be held to ransom? Same is the case with the Hezbollah. They are attacking against Hezbollah, carrying out mayhem. Who's supporting them? The superpower. So therefore, the rule of law has to be acceptable in 21st century. We are in the 3rd decade. This is Asia's century. And the global geopolitics, Simran, has gravitated away from geopolitics in 20th century to geoeconomics. When I say that, what I mean is the threat in 20th century was totally different. It was a bipolar world. The threat in 21st century, in my opinion, I may be wrong for some people, it is more to do with the economics. There is a huge deep pocket which is coming about in China, whether you accept or not, despite all pitfalls, despite the challenges that China is going through. To the best of my research and study, many of these challenges that we blow it out of proportion and driven by the Western media, we say China is into a deep slump, it cannot recover. Many of them are planned activities by China. And mind you, if they have X GDP and today, let's say India has got X GDP and they are 5 times X, 5X, and their rate of growth in China as per the GDP is say X minus 5, that X minus 5 which is far greater and more than 7.2 or 8.2 rate of growth of India. So therefore, the more the money, faster it multiplies. So what I am saying is the geoeconomics is at the center stage, and this country it has got trade surplus with almost about 120 countries out of 192 in the United Nations. So if that be the kind of a footprint
All
and
right.
a favorable economic leaning, then you can well assess where the world is heading. Today we have Japan, we have China, we have India as per of the purchasing power parity in the world order, and India comes third. So there are 3 countries out of first 4. If you include first 5, Russia surprisingly actually figuring in the first 5 as far as the PPP is concerned. So therefore, the whole economics is coming towards South Asia or the Asian century. And everything else will fall. The G7, which were the leading economies, their time has come to an end, and the supremacy and the super authority of the superpower of USA, which was so predominant in 20th century, is gradually declining.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.